Yet another of the mood and mission of Srila Prabhupada by His Holiness Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj. Okay, just give me a second. Karthik, if you have time after the session, can you spare some time? Is it okay for you?
I have a call from 7:30 to 8:30, Broji, office call. Once it's done, I'll ping you in WhatsApp.
No, after 8:30 you can speak.
Yes. After the call, I'll message you.
We'll begin our session by chanting the mantras. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Yesterday, Okay, so we are reading from the section Worldly Expertise and Involvement. Along with Srila Prabhupada's innumerable transcendental qualities that distinguished him as a superlative sadhu, there was yet other facet of his personality without which he could not have spread Krishna consciousness as he did. His worldly acumen and unhesitating willingness to do the needful. As he himself put it, it requires a little intelligence how to keep pace with Krishna and the world simultaneously. Srila Prabhupada was certainly possessed of more than a little intelligence for negotiating the affairs of the world in order to lead others beyond it. He was wise and worldly, as well as having great spiritual depth. Having accepted the seemingly impossible mission to inject Krishna consciousness into a new and largely unconducive environment, Srila Prabhupada exhibited exceptional astuteness, pragmatism, aplomb in facing the unprecedented challenges that inevitably arose. He struck the perfect balance between saintliness genuine concern for others, and being a perfect gentleman on one side, while acting with great decisiveness when no nonsense tendency on the other. From the outset, ISKCON's success during its early history depended directly upon the personal knowledge, skill, and energy of its founder. Yes. If he had not been able to be grounded in his worldly dealings, the movement would not have spread as it did, because he certainly didn't have the knowledge or experience to make wise decisions in the world. Being the antithesis of a stereotypical otherworldly Paramahamsa, Srila Prabhupada did not simply speak theoretically about Krishna consciousness. He did whatever was required for establishing Krishna consciousness in the world, even at great personal risk and inconvenience. As the revered public figure, C. Rajagopalachari said to Srila Prabhupada, thinking is easy, doing requires inspiration, and you have taken it up. Iconic film actors Vaijayanti herself a lifelong Vaishnava, similarly noted, Prabhupada not only preached and just talked about the whole thing, but he also established so many centers in so many parts of the world. Srila Prabhupada got him, worked hard to make a valuable and tangible contribution to human society. Did not shy from doing apparently mundane chores such as cleaning the floor, keeping accounts when done for Krishna. He taught there are they are as spiritual as directly hearing and chanting about Krishna. 292. Carefully vigilant of every aspect of the movement, Srila Prabhupada gave attention to the smallest details of financial management, book editing, architectural design, iconography, and ritual practice. Especially from Srila Prabhupada's correspondence and recorded conversations, it is clear how much he was concerned that matters were conducted well. Even when he was lecturing, giving a darshan, talking with a VIP, or counseling a devotee, he was always thinking of ISKCON's progress and problems in faraway places. And he expected his followers, especially the leaders of ISKCON, to follow this example of getting involved in all aspects of the movement's activities. As he instructed one leader, you must become conversant in every feature, whatever it is needed throughout the society. Our first business is to preach to the devotees and to maintain the highest standard of Vaishnava education. Management must be there as well, just as I am preaching daily from Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita. But I'm also going to the bank, making investments, seeing the trial balance, making letters, seeing how things are going on like that. So you must become expert in all these matters, just as I am giving you example. Okay, Prabhu. Shamkun Prabhu, please take it up and read.
Organizational and business acumen. Extraordinary organization abilities were a major factor in Srila Prabhupada's success. Like the seminal acharyas, Shankara, Ramanuja, and Madhva, Srila Prabhupada manifested out of nothing a widespread movement, guided it at every step with superlative confidence and clarity of vision, and made provisions for its continuation, thus ensuring its lasting impact. Decades of pioneering in pharmaceutical manufacture and sales had shaped Srila Prabhupada's aptitude in dealing with all kinds of people, confidence in taking calculated risks, spirit of pushing on, even when all seemed hopeless, and familiarity with legal and accounting requirements. He was a very practical manager, a kind of CEO who maintained a vital interest in the financial and organizational life of the fledgling movement. He was not removed from the everyday life of the movement and was aware and responsive to the economic, social, and legal challenges facing ISKCON, always tuned in to the situation at hand. He was never Lassegar, recognized Srila Prabhupada's, I think, which is
Sorry.
did we skip?
Yeah, yeah.
Plus, flustered or flummoxed. His disciples were much impressed with what they called his practicality, business sense, and even worldliness. To these disciples, this was additional evidence of the uniqueness of their leader. He could move, said one disciple, from the most complicated philosophical discussion to the details of real estate contracts with utter ease. Mr. P. Bhogilal, himself a fabulously successful business magnate and consummate manager, recognized Srila Prabhupada's organizational skills and the divine inspiration behind it. I saw him working and delivering instructions about organizational affairs to his various disciples and workers, and from the preciseness and foresight with which he directed everybody with clear, specific instructions as to what should be done and what should not be done, and his attaching accountability to the responsibility that he was entrusting to his people. It was easy to see that he was a very determined, result result oriented man who knew what he wanted and how to get it. He was extremely methodical in the sense that his schedule, lifestyle, and habits were all geared to perfection. He had the time for this organization. He had time for religious meditations. He had time for translations and writings. This is only possible if a person is extremely organized in his own mind. That organization manifested itself and transcended into other layers, and an institutional approach developed, wherein whatever he started became an institution. All of you devotees, the various temples, and the centers that he has built are all a tribute to this brilliance in management. He had a tremendous capacity to judge individuals. He knew exactly who was good for what and used them in that capacity. He brought out the best in that man, in that specialization, and he could motivate and lead people so that an ordinary latent talent suddenly blossomed and became very proficient. He was a great leader of men in this respect. He could, for instance, see what was possible for outsiders like us to do, but he was also wise enough to understand that it would have its own handicaps and limitations. Just as you mold a child exactly the way you would like him to grow up in life, he knew this would be possible only by trying to mold his disciples' lives and not by spending the same time or energy on outsiders like us, because we probably could have never become exactly as he wished us to, as we are exposed to so many other factors of life, and we are not totally committed to the moment. In other words, he accepted us as sympathizers and well wishers. But the task of spreading the movement could only be handled by those who take it up with a missionary purpose. He realized this, and he asked me my views at various times regarding various matters where he thought I could contribute to a solution. And it was right on his part to confine himself to this relationship with us, that of having friends and well wishers with better knowledge or influence in local affairs who could be approached for advice or help overcoming difficulties. This is not to say that he could not have done couldn't have done this on his own. He would probably have done it much better, but he knew that this would be quicker and faster. Sometimes on legal matters, sometimes on architectural and construction matters, sometimes on negotiations, and sometimes very fleetingly, very passingly about the movement itself, about what was being done and how. I know him as a person of extremely meticulous and clean habits. He enjoyed a good meal. He was a connoisseur who separated the good from the indifferent or mediocre. This standard of perfection radiated from him in everything that he said and did. He was a perfectionist who sought perfection in everyone around him. Many times I wondered What could have brought such total devotion to him from such alien cultures from all over the world? And I have no answer, except a feeling that it must be his great wisdom and conviction and the hand of God. Everything was geared to spreading the Krishna consciousness idea to as many people as possible. Sadly, some of Srila Prabhupada's god brothers saw his keen business sense as a fault and sneeringly attributed his success to his entrepreneurial skills, as if all his struggles for Krishna were for personal profit, and ISKCON was just a commercial enterprise. Undeterred, Srila Prabhupada unabashedly took pride in declaring his entrepreneurial acumen a business standard with 40 rupees bringing 6 lakhs daily is not ordinary
Started,
business.
not standard. Prabhuji, a business started, not standard.
Yes, a business started with 40 rupees bringing 6 lakhs daily is not ordinary business. The Krishna consciousness movement started with only 40 rupees, but now it has more than 40 crores worth of property. And all this opulence has been achieved within 8 or 10 years. No karmi can expect to improve his business so swiftly. And besides that, whatever a karmi acquires is temporary and sometimes frustrating. Knowing well the requirements for establishing an organization, Srila Prabhupada outlined them in a Bhagavad Gita purport, along with a simple, clear explanation of how such apparent materialism can be fully spiritual. Every endeavor requires land, capital, organization, and labor. Just as in a business, one requires a place to stay, some capital to use, some labor, and some organization to expand. So the same is required in the service of Krishna. The only difference is that in materialism, one works for sense gratification. The same work, however, can be performed for the satisfaction of Krishna, and that is spiritual activity.
Okay. Can anybody remember which purport Prabhupada stated this? We did not see the reference, but I'm just saying. Can anybody remember? Shamkun Prabhu, do you remember where this purport Prabhupada
12
writes
chap-
this?
12 chapter 8, 8, 9, 10,
12th
11.
chapter, 10th sloka. Yes. Fine. Yes.
Explaining this principle in relation to himself. I was a student of economics. I know how to do business. And the business principle means you require four things: land, labor, capital, organization. And ordinary man cannot do that. Otherwise, everyone would have done some business and become millionaires. But it requires these four things: land, labor, organization, and capital. I'm doing business because I have got all these things. I went to America, land. Then I worked, labor. Then I earned some capital. And I have got dream how to do it. Based on a lifetime of experience, Srila Prabhupada gave extensive business advice. For instance, regarding real estate, the buying and selling of properties, and how to circumvent zoning restrictions. In all things material and spiritual, he was as sharp as a tack and could not be cheated, even by New Yorkers. He always knew what to do. Shruti Dasa's mother, a California trust lawyer who helped in drafting the deed for the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust in Bombay, noted how expert Srila Prabhupada was in legal matters and that he knew exactly what he wanted in drafting the document and the requisite wording. Giriraj Swami's father, a prominent US lawyer, similarly observed. He is a brilliant organizer, and he really knows how to deal with people. Should I continue?
Okay. Okay, Prabhu. I'll tell somebody else to read. This is Shamsaru Prabhu, you can read. Continue.
Yes, Prabhu. Making things simple. The instructions of a pure devotee to his disciple are very simple. No one feels any difficulty in following in the footsteps of a pure devotee of the Lord. The formula is very simple but sublime at the same time. A major key to Srila Prabhupada's success was making Krishna consciousness simple and accessible to all, enabling every sincere follower to confidently execute his instructions without getting lost on what he referred to as, quote, the mental platform. By remembering Srila Prabhupada's maxims such as, quote, Krishna consciousness is common sense, unquote. If we simply, quote, do the needful, then, quote, what is the difficulty, unquote. Krishna consciousness is the intrinsic condition of every living being, but in this material world, everyone is conditioned to forget this. Krishna himself stated that devotion to him is rarely attained within this world. Srila Prabhupada explained to become a Krishna conscious person by the systematic way is very difficult. But by the mercy of Krishna, by the mercy of Krishna himself, he has made the path very easy. Otherwise, Krishna consciousness is not a very easy path. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission is to deliver every living being in the universe, and thus this difficult subject matter is given very easily by Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In this age, there is the path of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who appeared to deliver all fallen souls. This path is so simple and easy that everyone can take to it by chanting the holy names of the Lord. This process of Hari Kirtana is very simple. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Actually, there are only three words, Hare, Krishna and Rama, but they are very nicely arranged for chanting so that everyone can take the mantra and chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Since we have started this movement in the Western countries, Europeans, Americans, Africans, Egyptians, and Japanese are all chanting. There is no difficulty. They are chanting very gladly and they are getting the results. What is the difficulty? We are distributing this chanting free of charge and it is very simple. Krishna consciousness is a very simple process. One need only chant the holy names of the Lord and strictly follow the principles forbidding sinful activity. Krishna consciousness is a very simple process. It is not necessary to become a great philosopher, scientist, or whatever. We need only chant the holy name of the Lord, understanding that His personality, His name, and His qualities are all absolute. Our propaganda is, quote, please come here, chant Hare Krishna, and take prasada. That's all. Is that a very difficult task? Simple method, easy method, and simultaneously easy and sublime were terms used by Srila Prabhupada to describe the process of Krishna consciousness, especially in comparison with the paths of karma, jnana, and yoga. Still, the teachings of Krishna consciousness and the culture intrinsic to it might at first seem alien to many non Hindus, and even many Hindus find the rules required for strict practitioners to be daunting. Mercifully, Srila Prabhupada presented Krishna consciousness in a deliberately uncomplicated manner, making it easy for everyone to become attracted to Krishna. The Acharya gives some way for simple understanding, the same conclusion, but according to the time circumstances, they give a very easy method to understand. That is Acharya. Acharya is following strictly the previous Acharya, but according to the circumstances, he may make little changes. That change is not a change from the original idea. In brief, Our presentation is simplified. That is the beauty. We do not make things cumbersome. As Vaisheshika Dasa quote, he maintained the traditional values of the parampara in what he taught, but adapted how he taught to make those principles easier for his audience to embrace. Bluntly put, he made it simple because he realized that we were neophytes. Even before venturing to the West, Srila Prabhupada demonstrated a knack for communicating the recondite truths of Krishna consciousness. Dr. P. Banerjee regularly attended Srila Prabhupada's lectures in Delhi circa 1960 and noted, quote, he made the difficult things easy and explained everything according to our needs. He knew that this much is for this person, this much is intended for this man, this much for others. Being very serious about his duty as a guru to teach spiritual philosophy and practices, Srila Prabhupada was nevertheless careful in the beginning to spoon feed, to make the basics of Krishna consciousness clearly understandable and to convince his followers that it was practically attainable. His message focused on the basics of understanding Krishna's position as the Supreme Personality of Godhead and ourselves as His eternal servants, and accordingly, he emphasized service and surrender to Krishna. This Krishna consciousness movement is meant for making things very simplified. Accept God, accept your position as God's servant, and serve God. That's all. Vishnu Jana, how do you make everything so simple to understand? Prabhupada, because the whole philosophy is so simple. God is great, you are not great. Don't claim that you are God. Don't claim that there is no God. There is God and He is great and you are small. Then what is your position? You have to serve Krishna. This is simple truth. On other occasions, Srila Prabhupada explained Krishna conscious philosophy is very simple. God is great and we are small, and the duty of the small is to serve the great. The process of Krishna consciousness is very simple. Everything belongs to Krishna. So, our only duty is to give everything for Krishna's service and chant Hare Krishna. An anecdote demonstrating how Srila Prabhupada kept things simple. One of Srila Prabhupada's sannyasi godbrothers came to visit him for a day or two in Hawaii, and during that time, he criticized the way the devotees chanted. He spoke to Brahmananda and couple of other devotees about it. He said that the devotees were not concentrating when they chanted, that they did not pay enough attention. After the sannyasi left, the devotees went to Prabhupada a little disturbed that they weren't chanting properly. Prabhupada dismissed it, saying, just chant and listen. He made it simple for us. There wasn't any quote, well, you are not concentrating or not listening properly. It was quote, just chant and listen. He made it simple because he realized that we were neophytes. Another time, Srila Prabhupada similarly reassured his disciples. Chant the Hare Krishna mantra. It is very easy, at least 16 rounds, and follow the regulative principles and pray to Krishna to help you. Everything will be all right. Srila Prabhupada ministered largely to hedonistic youths whose search for spirituality was mixed with, quote, be here now, existentialism, and who tended to judge phenomena by their immediate experiential effect. For all their talk of consciousness expansion, They were largely on the sensual or lowest platform of consciousness. Recognizing this, Srila Prabhupada presented Krishna consciousness to the hippies largely at the sensual and experiential level as the highest pleasure and the best engagement for the senses. A prime example being is initially encouraging his disciples to take large quantities of prasada. Without trivializing the essential seriousness of Krishna consciousness, Srila Prabhupada brought out its natural joy and made it fun to practice. Many of his early disciples were accustomed to adventure, creativity, and risk taking, and having fun was central to their experience of Krishna consciousness, as attested by several memoirs. Gurudasa recalled, Swamiji always made Krishna consciousness a great adventure. And Hayagriva Dasa wrote, when we are with Swamiji, we are having fun. That's all we know. Shyamasundara Dasa repeatedly used the word fun while describing pioneering efforts in San Francisco and London. Excerpts. We were having fun on this great adventure. I don't think I have ever experienced it since, teamwork like that, but having so much fun doing everything. Summarizing the whole process in a simple motto, chant Hare Krishna and be happy, promising that by doing so, life will be sublime. Srila Prabhupada stated that this movement is not very difficult to understand and explain. Lord Chaitanya has taught a very simple method in this connection. He has taught the lesson for preaching the transcendental message through singing, dancing, and refreshment. That, quote, our method is very simple, unquote, was repeatedly stressed by Srila Prabhupada. The method is very simple to fix the mind always on the lotus feet of Krishna, to talk always of Krishna without passing on to any other subject matter, and to engage the body in Krishna's service constantly. The method is very simple. Chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. A caveat. The method is very simple, but one has to understand it with a cool head. Similarly, encouraging counsel from 1967. Just go on chanting and dancing. This is worship that we are doing every day. No more going anywhere. Just keep Lord Chaitanya before you and go on chanting and dancing. All your worship is finished. It is very simple, very simple. We are simply just demonstrating everything. If you follow this process, then you become fully in Krishna consciousness wherever you live and whatever you are, and your life is perfect. And there is nothing objectionable. This picture anyone can have. In this In this way, take Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's picture and offer him a little fruit, little flower, and little incense, and chant and dance. Never mind what you are, what is your condition, everything will come later on. Yena tena prakarena manah Krishne niveshayet. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1, 2, 4. Especially in the early days of his movement, Srila Prabhupada repeatedly reassured that Krishna consciousness is indeed very simple. It is very simple, very simple. Simply thinking of Krishna. Smartavyah satatam Vishnor vismartavyo na jatuchit. If you simply always think Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, that is sufficient. Even if you do not go into the Bhagavad Gita, if you do not go in the Srimad Bhagavatam, simply you are chanting. Krishna has given us the ear, and Krishna has Krishna has given us the tongue. No expense, no difficulty. You haven't got to go to college and take degrees to become Krishna conscious. It is easy for the rich, for the poor, for the learned, for the fool, for the black, for the white, for the rich, for the poor, everyone. There is no distinction because Krishna is for everyone. Our procedure is very simple and consistent. We chant, we read from we read from Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, and we distribute prasada. That is also very easy. How to become Krishna conscious. Read Bhagavad Gita as it is, and you become Krishna conscious. At home or out of home, it doesn't matter. This approach was based on faith that the process itself is purifying if followed seriously under qualified guidance. Anyone, anywhere can easily take to this Hare Krishna movement. One need only chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, observe the rules and regulations, and stay free from the contamination of sinful life. Even if one is sinful and cannot give up sinful life immediately, if he chants the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra with devotion and faith, he will certainly be freed from all sinful activities and his life will be successful. Anyone who will live in this society will naturally develop Krishna consciousness very quickly, very easily. Reminiscing about how he first brought Americans to Krishna consciousness, Srila Prabhupada said, simply chant, give them a chance to come and chant with us, take prasada. Then, after a few days or a few months, let them understand the philosophy. I never said that, quote, you have to give up this, you have to do this, you have to. Then gradually, Cheto Darpana Marjanam. We simply say, come here, chant Hare Krishna, and take prasada. This is the treatment. These boys, foreigners, they have they have come to me not by reading my books. First of all, I invited, quote, sit down, chant Hare Krishna, and take prasada. And then gradually, this is the general treatment. In the beginning of our movement, whatever we did was an imitation of what we saw Srila Prabhupada doing, thus recalled an early disciple. Everything the devotees knew about Krishna consciousness came from him, and he kept things simple. There were just one or two kirtana tunes, mridanga and kartala beats, and styles of dancing, and all were so simple that even first timers could participate without difficulty. The dress style for men and women was plain and simple, as was their standard of living. They had very little money. Their faith was simple. Their philosophic understanding was rudimentary, and their manner of preaching was likewise straightforward and uncomplicated. An exception was that from the beginning, Srila Prabhupada introduced opulent prasada, including some rather complex preparations such as kachoris and samosas, which certainly were not difficult to relish. Referring to the ceremonial rituals of Hari Bhakti Vilasa, Srila Prabhupada observed, at least in Europe and America, they will never be able to take all these things. Things should be made shortcut. At the same time, they should be successful. So that is chanting of Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Deities made a relatively late entrance into ISKCON life. Even when they did appear, Srila Prabhupada did not tell too many details of how to carry out their worship. He kept it simple. He did not emphasize the ritualistic aspects of deity worship, reciting such as reciting many mantras or performing mudras. He emphasized simple acts of bhakti, such as keeping everything clean, decorating gorgeously with flowers, and making palatable food offerings. Hare Krishna
Okay,
Prabhu.
Prabhu. Okay. No unnecessary abstrusities. Abstrusities. Whereas my most gurus from the East spoke in a seemingly deliberately unscrutable manner about a spirituality that appeared impossible to understand, let alone attain, Srila Prabhupada's message was straightforward and definite. Umapati, I have been reading Buddhist books that said you cannot say it is not. You cannot say it is both. It both is and is not. You cannot say it neither is nor is not. So when Srila Prabhupada said the supreme absolute truth is a person, I thought that was the most intelligent thing I have heard in my whole life. It made so much sense that I knew that I had found the person I was looking for. As was necessary for rapidly spreading Krishna consciousness to people largely unfamiliar with Vedic teachings. Srila Prabhupada did not teach ar- arcane minutiae of philosophy, minutiae of philosophy. Although although ever absorbed in and continually discussing philosophy, was concerned with the essence and not with abstrusities. Without changing the ancient teachings of Vaishnava Dharma or presenting them oversimplistically or lessening their gravity and profundity, Srila Prabhupada expertly communicated complex topics in a readily understandable manner. For instance, by employing numerous analogies, both traditional and of his own coining. Cutting through the intricacies of Vedic philosophy, he presented the essence of Krishna consciousness, reality that is pure, simple, and overwhelmingly attractive, and thus following in the footsteps of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, made it available to all. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement is not mere sentimentalism. There is very there is a very rich background if one wants to understand the Sankirtan movement through philosophy and logic. For this movement is based on science and on the authority of the Vedas, but it is all simplified. That is the beauty of this movement. Whether one is a great scholar or philosopher or a child, he can take part without any difficulty. As did Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Srila Prabhupada told people what they needed to do and why and how without making things unnecessarily complicated, and was more concerned to deliver to the people this status of life without much bothering about philosophical speculations. He did not focus on the analysis of abstruse points that traditionally had characterized philosophic discourse in India, sidestepping recondite philosophic wrangles having little relevance to the pressing needs of contemporary man. He showed little interest in such discussions, and they were raised in his presence. He instead presented the teachings of Shastra as a vital subject required for every human being. He repeatedly hammered on the same simple points, beginning with understanding the difference between body and the real self, that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that everyone should surrender to Him. Srila Prabhupada's teachings, in essence, accept God, accept your position as God's servant, and serve God. Wow, this is nice. In accord with the spirit of Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada did not see philosophy as a remote, a practical value for philosophy for the benefit of all. This was brought out in a press conference in Hyderabad, India in April 1974. At the press conference, one reporter asked whether Srila Prabhupada was an Advaita or Dvaita philosopher. Srila Prabhupada scoffed at the question. What is the point of discussing such things? Whether one is Dvaita or Advaita, Krishna says, Anad Bhavanti Bhutani. All living beings subsist on Food grains. Anna means grains. The people have no grains. Actually, it is not Anna. It's called Anna. Anna. Anna means grains. Anna means in Telugu is called brother. Anna means grains. The people have no grains. Grains are produced from rain and rain from yajna. So perform yajna because Krishna conscious. Become Krishna conscious. Dvaita or Advaita, you may be, but you still need grains. Oh. The same article referred to the practical discussions about Krishna and practical proposals that Srila Prabhupada talks about the respectable men hour after hour, day after day, untiringly, with 100% conviction and fresh enthusiasm. He explained his policy for teaching Vaishnava philosophy in today's world. In the Western countries, their brain is not so sharp to clearly understand the difference between Vishishtadvaita, Suddhadvaita, Dvaita, 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 Advaita, or Advaita. Their brains does not allow to think very deeply about. So we are simply teaching them Manmana Bhav Mad Bhakto Madhyaji Mam Namaskuru. That includes all philosophy. In this way, we are preaching all over the world. We have to take the remnants of foodstuff given by the Acharya and explain in a modern way so that people may understand. As Pushta Krishna Swami told a university professor in Srila Prabhupada's presence, Srila Prabhupada has not manufactured anything from his own mind. The Vedic literatures are simply being presented as they are in such a way that we in the Western countries can understand very clearly, without hesitation, what is being said in each and every verse and each chapter. In other words, Prabhupada is not presenting in order to confuse or to juggle words, but to actually give people understanding. This is why it's been accepted so readily, while humbly implying that he was not conversant with all such abstru- abstrusities. Srila Prabhupada nevertheless underlined that his simplified presentation was not lacking and that actually he was perfectly cognizant of the tenets of the Vedanta. We are propagating the Krishna consciousness movement simply by following the footsteps of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We may not be very well versed in the Vedanta Sutra aphorisms and may not understand their meaning, but we follow in the footsteps of acharyas, and because of our strictly and obediently following in the footsteps of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it is to be understood that we know everything regarding the Vedanta Sutras. It should not be misunderstood that Srila Prabhupada's simple presentations indicated that he was unfamiliar with the minutiae of minutiae, minutiae, minutiae of Vedic teachings. Our method is simple. Our philosophy is simple. But if somebody brings intricate philosophy, we could answer. We are not so simple that others will befool us. Rather, Srila Prabhupada's ability to unfailingly present the essence demonstrates his complete grasp of Vedic knowledge, both in its particulars and its overall conclusion, Siddhanta. Okay, Shamakunda Prabhu, you can read.
Stressing obedience to Guru. Obedience to one's Guru is a cornerstone of India's spiritual tradition. Yet most of Srila Prabhupada's disciples were former hippies, committed to defying authority and asserting their supposed independence. To benefit his disciples, Srila Prabhupada, probably more than any genuine Vaishnava Acharya, had previously stressed the magistral role of a Guru, knowing that unless his followers fully surrendered to his orders, they could hardly survive as devotees, let alone gain the strength and courage to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. Your statement expressing your surrender to your spiritual master is proper. If this principle is followed, you will remain pure and always protected by Krishna. Always follow my instructions and my example. This should be your life and soul. Accepting the title Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada had his disciples daily worship him as he presided from a throne like Vyasasana. He would often quote Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur to establish that the Guru is as good as God, or in some ways even more important. साक्षाद्धरित्वेन समस्तशास्त्रैः उक्तस्तथा भावयत एव सद्भिः किन्तु प्रभोर्य प्रिय एव तस्य वन्दे गुरोः श्रीचरणारविन्दम्. The spiritual master is to be honored as much as the Supreme Lord because he is the most confidential servitor of the Lord. This is acknowledged in all revealed scriptures and followed by all authorities. Therefore, I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master, who is the bona fide representative of Sri Hari Krishna. Yasya prasadat bhagavad prasadu, yasya prasadan nagati kutopi. By the mercy of the spiritual master, one receives the benediction of Krishna. Without the grace of the spiritual master, one cannot make any advancement. Whereas Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita states, the order of the spiritual master is the active principle in spiritual life. Anyone who disobeys the order of the spiritual master immediately becomes useless. By Srila Prabhupada inculcating in various ways this vital truth that spiritual advancement depends on the favor of one's Guru, who is not different from God. It quickly became established as a central tenet of ISKCON that Srila Prabhupada is a divine, perfect person, whose authority is absolute, and whose orders are to be adhered to, and that all benefit derives from this principle. Typifying this understanding, Jagat Purush Das exalted, nothing compares with getting the confirmation that Srila Prabhupada is pleased with something that you have done in his service. Similarly, another disciple of Srila Prabhupada recalled, when I was mercifully allowed to join this movement, the devotees kindly instructed me, in everything you do, always think how to please Srila Prabhupada. The whole movement was powering ahead on this simple but infallible principle. Motivational skills, leading from the front and always ahead of his disciples. Srila Prabhupada, by his dynamism and extraordinary plans and vision, ignited an urge within hundreds of Western youths to get out into the world and do something for Krishna. Had he himself not been more vigorous, strong-willed, and hard-working than his top leaders, some of whom were notoriously headstrong, he could not have harnessed their energy and kept them united. Srila Prabhupada's energy level was beyond description. He was in his 70s, while we were all in our 20s or less, and yet he worked circles around us. He was present, alert, and up each night until after midnight, translating. Then he had a full
Mm.
full day of activities, including instructing us, writing and sending letters around the world, meetings with important men and aspiring devotees, doing preaching programs, and of course, his daily personal sadhana. It was simply inconceivable, and yet he did this every day, regardless of where he was. To be an extraordinarily successful preacher of Krishna consciousness, of whom there have been very few, and among whom Srila Prabhupada stands unique, requires being fully aligned with the desires of Krishna and simultaneously extraordinarily attuned to the material world and human psychology. As a brilliant practical psychologist, Srila Prabhupada knew how to bring out the best in people, or in some cases, to bring out the worst, to expose their nonsense, and sometimes strict devotees and others into acting for their self-interest. Reciprocating with Srila Prabhupada's intense desire to uplift everyone he came in contact with, Krishna favored him with the ability to sense what others were thinking and respond accordingly. He could penetrate the coverings of egoism and illusion and reach directly to the soul, igniting in those who responded an eagerness to serve the Lord of the heart. In doing so, they experienced such bliss that they were willing to undergo severe difficulties that normally no one would agree to accept, even if paid. Simultaneously, he made his disciples feel important, useful, and successful. This then is the science behind Srila Prabhupada's miraculous motivational skills, his ability to inspire rank newcomers to act on the level of Paramahansas, if only temporarily. As Mahatma Das noted, he needed an army of pure devotees to spread Krishna consciousness. So he gifted us the mood of pure devotion, practically from the day we joined the temple. No ordinary person can motivate others to dedicate themselves so completely as Srila Prabhupada did. He inspired faith by the genuineness of his message and of his personality. It was obvious to all he came in contact with that he had no motive to exploit others. His unique, exemplary, and endearing personality induced many persons to voluntarily and wholeheartedly dedicate their lives to him and through him to Krishna. Hard work. The miracle of spreading Krishna consciousness all over the world did
प्रभु
not happen.
हरे कृष्णा.
Yes, Prabhu.
थोड़ा जोर से पढ़िए प्रभु, थोड़ा enthusiasm. Come on.
Hard work. The miracle of spreading Krishna consciousness all over the world did not happen automatically. I have to shed my blood 3 tons to make one convinced in Krishna consciousness, especially these Europeans and Americans, personifying a Hetuki Apratihata, unmotivated and uninterrupted dedication to Krishna. Srila Prabhupada shed his blood endlessly. He worked hard and he was never lazy. I worked hard my whole life. I never liked to sit idle. From my birth, I was never lazy, neither dull. I did not like laziness. I want to work. Naturally, I could have retired from all these activities, but I want work day and night. I become sorry if I cannot work. Always leading by example. Srila Prabhupada urged his disciples with his tremendous drive and sense of purpose. Writing from India in 1970, Shyama Das accused, "This is the most forceful and energetic version of Srila Prabhupada we have ever seen. He is so active that he seems superhuman. We marvel at how his mind moves, taking care of every aspect of what is now a worldwide movement, while maintaining the highest personal standard of purity and discipline. He acquires and sends deities all over the globe, writes, prints, and distributes books, raises and banks money, 100 things at once. And yet he's always concerned for the well-being of each and every one of his disciples. Conservative and liberal, strict and lenient. Srila Prabhupada was conservative in preserving and presenting the message of the previous acharyas, yet liberal in its application, strict in preaching the Siddhanta, yet very tolerant of the shortcomings of others. From the contemporary Western liberal standpoint, Srila Prabhupada's societal and political outlook would be considered highly conservative or even extremist. He expected his disciples to forswear flesh, food, fornication, contraception, gambling, including bingo and lottery, all forms of intoxication, down to tea and coffee, and entertainments such as cinema, television, concourse, sports, popular music, and materialistic literature. He considered independence for women and homosexuality as demonic and frowned on divorce, technological progress, universal education, and even democracy. He called it democracy. He wanted to institute Varnashram Dharma, a rule bound, seg- segregatory, hierarchical polity, sans equal rights, and he spoke favorably of dictatorship, severe punishment of criminals, child marriage, polygamy, and many other institutes that today are widely considered to be regressive and dangerous. Yet, from his own standpoint, or that of Vedic civilization, Srila Prabhupada was uniquely liberal in his raising persons from fallen communities to become Vaishnavas, Brahmanas, and Sannyasis. Indeed, a major factor in Srila Prabhupada's being able to spread Krishna consciousness worldwide was because he was decidedly not as strict as his Guru Maharaj. even though accurately described as the strictest guru that ever came to America. Srila Prabhupada instituted only some of the most basic stipulations required within the traditional Vedic culture that he represented, and never insisted that his followers adopt austerities at levels accepted as normal for serious Vaishnavas in India. For instance, stringent observance of Ekadashi and Chaturmasya vows. Traditionally in Vedic civilization, eligibility for studying Shastra, worshipping deities, and so forth had been restricted to persons living very pure, pious, and strictly regulated lives, and who were well grounded in the intricacies of Vedic culture. Yet Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is praised as Mahavadanyaya, a greatly munificent personality, because he was freely distributing to everyone love of Godhead, which is achieved by wise men only after many, many births and following in his footsteps. Srila Prabhupada invited all to adopt the process of purification that can bring them to the highest platform. Anyone can be purified by following the principles of devotional service in Krishna consciousness. For Krishna consciousness is so powerful that it can purify even the dirtiest class of men and transform them into the topmost Vaishnavas. There is no need to seek properly qualified candidates for discharging devotional service to the Lord. Let them be either well behaved or ill trained. Let them be either learned or fools. Let them be either grossly attached or in the renounced order of life. Let them be liberated souls or desirous of salvation. Let them be inexpert in the discharge of devotional service or expert in the same. All of them can be elevated to the supreme position by discharging devotional service under the proper guidance. Unprecedented liberality was required to introduce Krishna consciousness in an open society. Yet, from Srila Prabhupada's teachings, it is clear that he was not in favor of the highly accommodative modern ethos. Socially, his aim was to establish a disciplined, hierarchical, hierarchical society. The day before conducting his first ever initiation ceremony in the West, Srila Prabhupada informed the prospective disciples of the four basic restrictions: no meat eating, including eggs and fish, no gambling, no illicit sex, and no intoxicants, including alcohol, cigarettes, LSD, marijuana, tea, and coffee. Shortly thereafter, he posted a notice to further instruct his new disciples. All initiated devotees must attend morning and evening classes, must not be addicted to any kind of intoxicants, including coffee, tea, and cigarettes. They are forbidden to have illicit sex connections, must be strictly vegetarian, should not extensively mix with non-devotees, should not eat foodstuffs cooked by non-devotees, should not waste time in idle talks, nor engage in frivolous sports, should always stand and sing the Lord's holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram,
Hare
Hare Ram,
Rama,
Ram
Hare
Ram,
Rama,
Hare
Rama
Hare.
Rama, Hare. The new initiates had not realized the import of their vows. With dismay, we begin to realize that more than hamburgers are off limits. We are all fond of coffee and tea, and it's hard to imagine breakfast without eggs. Besides, breads, hotcakes, ice cream, and cookies usually have eggs in them. Also, no foodstuff cooked by non-devotees. Excludes all restaurants, quick food shops, and even most packaged supermarket foods. And no yeast, garlic, onions, and mushrooms puts an end to pizza. Somebody even points out that most cheeses are made with rennet, cow's stomach. I am 90% lenient, Swamiji says, laughing. If I were to tell you everything at once, you would faint. Addressing the paradox of his simultaneous liberality and conservativeness, Srila Prabhupada often noted that the poet Allen Ginsberg, an admirer of Srila Prabhupada's, yet also a prominent pioneer of ultra-liberal values in the West, had deemed Srila Prabhupada to be very conservative. Srila Prabhupada's response: no, I am the most liberal. You do not know. If I become conservative, then none of you will come to me. When first informed that Ginsburg had referred to him as conservative, Srila Prabhupada became indignant. Conservative, how is that? In respect to sex and drugs, a disciple suggested. Then Srila Prabhupada explained, of course, we are conservative in that sense. That simply means we are following Shastra. We cannot depart from Bhagavad Gita. But conservative we are not. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so strict that he would not even look on a woman. But we are accepting everyone into this movement, regardless of sex, caste, position, or whatever. Everyone is invited to come chant Hare Krishna. This is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's munificence, his liberality. No, we are not conservative. On another occasion, Srila Prabhupada stated that our principles are very strict for anyone who comes to practice seriously. Such persons are given restrictions, but generally anyone can come and chant Hare Krishna. This blend of strictness with serious practitioners and openness with others was the key to widespread acceptance. We are trying to present an ideal society to the world. So, although we are very rigidly following these principles, still we are very liberal to everyone. For this reason, we are being appreciated everywhere. Then, in this vein, a disciple posited a Vaishnava is conservative with Krishna and liberal with everybody else. Srila Prabhupada elucidated that, in one sense, he was not conservative at all. That is not conservative. Conservative means unnecessarily catching something. That is conservative. If you try to protect your life, will anyone say you are very conservative? I wanted to kill you and you want to keep your life. Is that conservatism? If the murderer thinks that you are very conservative, I wanted to kill you and you did not allow. That is not conservative. That is self-preservation. That is not conservative. Conservative means unnecessarily you catch some rules and regulations without any meaning or without any utility. In Sanskrit, it is called Niyamagraha. Updeshamrita, verse 2. With the aim to push, drag, or somehow or other bring everyone to the highest level of Krishna consciousness. The Prabhupada could be very strict with those who had already taken seriously to Krishna consciousness, sometimes harder than a thunderbolt, to help keep them progressing toward the goal, and not slip again into ignominy. Yet clearly his heart was softer than a flower, especially for newcomers.
Maybe we'll
The
stop
Prabhupada,
here. Maybe we'll stop
yes,
here. I don't know. It is. I thought it will stop somewhere, but it is going on and on and on. So we'll read from tomorrow from this place, especially for newcomers. Okay. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. So we'll meet tomorrow at the same time. Vanchakalpatarubhishcha kripa sindhibhyo vacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. His Holiness Bhakti Vikas Swami Maharaj ki jai. Hare Krishna. Holy Vishnu Srila Prabhupada ki jai.